To further have this conversation with us is Comrade Fidelis Ede. He's joining us over the phone. He's a lawyer, a former Labour leader, and of course, he's a social commentator. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. My privilege to be with you this morning.
All right, let us take a look at the Supreme Court's verdict as it regards Nnamdi Kanu. We know that before now there's been, a court ruling saying that he should actually be let go, and till now, that court ruling wasn't taken into action. Nothing was done about it, and nobody was held responsible. And now we're having another entirely new verdict. Do you think that this ruling against Mazi Nnamdi confirmed that there is no legitimacy in the Nigerian judiciary, and that, the judicial system in this country, further widening the gap of trust between the citizens and the judiciary? Do you agree with that?
Well, I think you just made a sweeping statement, and we have to be extremely careful when we discuss issues that are not just that evoke a lot of emotions, but seems to bring to the fore whether we have actually developed along the line of human rights as enshrined in Chapter 4 of the Constitution. The issue is not just about Nnamdi Kanu. If you look at the judicial system and you take a look at the number of people in Nigerian jails, particularly those awaiting trial, what has happened is that Nnamdi's case has brought to the fore because of the political components, that we have not only remained conservative, but the jurisprudence that it affects criminal cases in Nigeria, even the civil aspect, have been tied to the apron of the common law, which is the basis for the Nigerian legal system. And if you look at the root of the common law, you will discover that it is dominantly case law. Case law are laws that are made by judges. When you talk about civil liberty, which is a critical component of democracy, just like you find in America, you will discover it is completely lacking in Nigeria. But when you have case laws, it means just like you had a court of appeal say, no, the route through which this man, Nnamdi Kanu, is brought to answer to his cases is fraudulent. It is arbitrary. It should not stand. That is about civil liberty, that there must be a process, that you must follow due process. You cannot, just because you are government, you want to enforce law, then you cut corners. I can tell you, if Nigeria was to be US, a Trump maybe will be in detention and won't even be talking about contesting presidential election. But there, you have a development of civil liberty to the point. That is where you find that a man is innocent until pronounced guilty. But here, like you observed, the Court of Appeal, not even the Federal High Court, the Court of Appeal had quashed this man's case and said, let him go. But the federal government, that is the almighty tormentor, the almighty arbitrary power executor, decided to hold him until they were able now to get a reprieve from the Supreme Court. If you liken it a little bit, I'm sorry I'm making reference to America. You can also see the judgment in which in America Trump was given a reprieve as a result of a judgment of a court. Say, no, don't rush this thing, allow this man to have his day. So, in summary, what I'm saying is that the legal system in Nigeria, even as it's taught in university, in the legal, if you listened recently, the retreats where the Sabo Koba, was a resource person, you heard him talk about that there is a perversion. First, he talked about the mafia that have captured the Supreme Court. Then he went further to distinguish the difference between the judiciary, what the legislator ought to provide to grant Nigerians civil liberty, and the administration of justice, sorry. So what you have is that the Supreme Court is the final court in Nigeria. This pronouncement is the law, no matter how we look at it, even if when it infringes on their fundamental rights. And it's unfortunate. The other component of it is that you can imagine from 1999 till date, we have the first year of government, which is the legislature, that have not taken any step to deepen the values that are enshrined in Chapter 4. Because when you talk about Chapter 4, these are inalienable rights. Rights that are fundamental. These are not rights that are guaranteed by law. God-given rights. Freedom. Freedom of expression. Freedom of movement. Freedom of association. The fact that people must have their due in court. And ours is a system whereby you are innocent until proven guilty. How do you now juxtapose what I'm saying or what we have observed with the fate of Nnamdi Kanu? You hold a man in detention, he gets a reprieve, you still hold him, even when you can release him and still keep a tap on him and make sure he does not leave the country. No, but you keep him in detention and not in the correctional custody. You keep him with DSS that is not known to law in terms of detention when it comes to citizens' rights. So it's not something we should celebrate. It's unfortunate.
All right. Just from your submissions, because we're looking at the legitimacy of a lot of things that is surrounding the case of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and you just mentioned one of them that was going to lead up to my next question, which is the fact that he wasn't put in a correctional center like we should have legally. He was left with the DSS, and that makes up a lot of other things that shouldn't be or shouldn't happen if things were to be done in the right way, the proper way to handle issues. Having established that we have these illegalities going on, isn't there a way that it is supposed to affect the the judgments, the verdict in the positive end towards Nnamdi Kanu? How do you react to that?
Well, you see, another component to the whole gamut of Nnamdi's case in terms of the way we have also approached cases in Nigeria is that at times we also find that in electoral cases. I think lawyers are too quick to want to canvass their positions either through the media, let me use that word now, such that when you now begin to want to separate perception or expectation from what is law, from the Supreme Court pronouncement, you can see that the Supreme Court also kind of inducted the process through which Nnamdi's lawyers have come. Because if you listen to his lawyer, the lead lawyer, he said now they will return to federal high courts to now start the aspect of rendition, which the Supreme Court condemned. But what has happened is that did they need the Supreme Court to follow that path? Did they need? Why was this thing so politicized to the point that the lawyers didn't pick that aspect that there was no Nigerian law that supported, in terms of authority, what they were canvassing? Now, you see, I want us to be careful with the use of the word legitimacy and justice. Something can be legitimate, just like the Supreme Court judgment now is legitimate. But whether it provided justice is a different thing. Because this justice has to be located within constitutionality. And this constitutionality within this scope of what we are discussing should be found in Chapter 4 of the Constitution. we observe, because why I am following this course of discussion is that there are over thousands of Nnamdi Kanus who are abandoned in the judicial process. If you go to recently I was in court, and a judge came in, just mentioned 3 cases he had joined to 2014 and just left within 30 minutes. And one of the suspects that was brought from, who was awaiting trial, was brought from the correctional center. If you saw the hopelessness, if you saw the frustration, what the guy said was, how can this be for 3 years? And you discovered at times people are detained beyond the period, assuming they were sentenced, they would have served and let go. So I approached him. I had to counsel him and say, whatever happens, because in Nigeria, when you can't find any other thing, we call God. I said, maybe there must be a reason God wants you to continue to be here. That's just what we have to tell ourselves so that we keep giving people hope. So what I'm saying is that if you take a study about the Nigerian judicial system, you will discover that there are people who have been abandoned completely to their fate. Some will even die, nobody will talk about. Some don't even have people. I have cases of people whose bail were less than 2,000, 3,000, the amount they needed to pay, and nobody comforts. There are cases of missing files, people whose cases are no longer brought up. There are cases of matters referred to DPP, and there is no opinion. So the judicial system, as it affects criminal justice, it is so corrupted, it is so negative, it infringes on rights, and that is why at times when people take law, I'm not now bringing in the police aspect, the arrest system, the process of prosecuting people. That's not the aspect. We are just talking about what has happened in court. So I am saying that the Nigerian legislature that we have constituted as the giver of law, because they are the one that gives the law that through citizens ought to be governed. The case law is something that happens once in a while. But the real law as to how we ought to be governed must come from the legislator, and I think that was one of the points Olisabakoba raised in that retreat. He said that the judiciary have not done enough. How can you have a system? Look at a population of over 200 million, and you just have 21 persons at the Supreme Court who decide all the cases that come from 36 states of the states and the Federal Capital Territory. Even if they are robots, even if they work 24 hours a day, we need to open up the system so that people can find justice. I think it has to do with the law we are operating. It's outdated, it's conservative. So the paper of Nnamdi Kanu was not something people did not envisage. In fact, his release, as happy as people, particularly from the southeast, would have felt some sign of relief. You could have been, is it that the system is changing? And even if he was granted that release, people would have seen it as more political than something that was